History often blames epic battles or invasions for the fall of empires, but these are just the final symptoms. The real cause is almost always financial decay. Empires rise on economic strength and trusted currency, but collapse when their finances unravel. A strong currency allows empires to trade, build, and pay armies. As empires expand, their costs soar. More soldiers, more infrastructure, more bureaucracy. Eventually, spending outpaces income. Leaders then face a dangerous temptation, creating more money out of thin air. This leads to inflation, eroding trust in the currency. Rome, Spain, and Britain all followed this pattern, rising on strong money, falling when they debased it. The invasions and revolutions were just the final act. The real collapse began with financial mismanagement. Today, the US dollar is the world's primary currency, but America is showing the same warning signs: massive debt, rising spending, and a weakening currency. The lesson is clear. The fate of empires is written in their money. By studying these financial mistakes, we can better understand the challenges we face now. The stakes are high, not just for America, but for the world. The true story of decline is not about swords, but about spreadsheets. History's warning is right in front of us. Rome's power rested on the denarius, a silver coin trusted across its vast empire. This currency funded armies, roads, and trade, making Rome an economic powerhouse. But maintaining the empire was expensive. Wars, bureaucracy, and public welfare drained the treasury. Unable to raise enough taxes, emperors began to debase the denarius, mixing in cheaper metals. At first the change was subtle, but each new emperor reduced the silver content further. Soon, the denarius was mostly copper, and people lost trust in it. Prices soared as inflation took hold. Trade collapsed, and the economy ground to a halt. Soldiers went unpaid and mutinied, while the government lost control. The financial system's collapse left Rome weak and divided, unable to defend itself. The final invasions were just the last straw. Rome had already crumbled from within. The lesson: when an empire's money fails, its power quickly follows. Rome's decline began not with a battle, but with a coin. The denarius's fall was the empire's undoing. Economic decay, not enemy swords, brought Rome down. Trust in money is the foundation of power. Lose that, and the empire falls. Spain's empire was built on silver from the Americas, making it the richest nation of its time. The Spanish piece of 8 became the world's first global currency, but this wealth became a curse. Spain spent recklessly on wars and luxury, believing the silver would never run out. Instead of investing at home, Spain bought goods from abroad, sending its silver to rival nations. The flood of silver caused massive inflation, prices soared, and savings evaporated. Despite the treasure, Spain borrowed heavily and defaulted on its debts multiple times. Trust in Spain's finances collapsed, and the empire's power faded. As silver mines dried up, the neglected economy crumbled, the military weakened, and Spain lost its dominance. The empire didn't fall to a single defeat. It collapsed under debt, inflation, and mismanagement. The silver meant to make Spain strong ultimately destroyed it. Wealth without discipline is a recipe for ruin. Spain's story is a warning. Easy money can be fatal. The British Empire's power was built on the pound sterling, trusted worldwide because it was backed by gold. This made London the financial capital of the world. World War I changed everything. Britain borrowed massively and abandoned the gold standard, printing money to fund the war. After the war, Britain was deep in debt, no longer the world's banker. World War II finished the job, leaving Britain bankrupt and forced to sell off assets. The US dollar replaced the pound as the world's reserve currency. Britain's economic decline led directly to the end of its empire. Without money, it couldn't maintain its colonies or global influence. The process was gradual but inevitable. The pound's fall came before the empire's collapse. Once the currency lost its shine, the empire's days were numbered. Economic strength is the backbone of global power. When that breaks, the empire follows. Rome, Spain, and Britain all followed the same 5-stage cycle from dominance to collapse. First, they rose on strong, trusted money, silver, gold, or stable currency. Next came military overreach and overspending, as empires expanded and costs soared. Then, unable to cover expenses, they debased their currency or printed money. This led to inflation and a loss of trust, eroding the value of savings and the currency itself. Economic activity shrank and instability grew. Finally, the empire collapsed, unable to pay soldiers, maintain infrastructure, or defend itself. The real enemy was not on the battlefield, but in the balance sheets. This five-step cycle is a blueprint for imperial decline. Sound money is the foundation. Lose it, and collapse follows. The pattern is clear and consistent across history. Financial discipline is the only defense. Ignore it, and the end is inevitable. The blueprint repeats again and again. Today, the United States stands where Rome, Spain, and Britain once did, at the peak, but showing familiar cracks. The US dollar is the world's reserve currency, giving America huge advantages. But decades of overspending and mounting debt, now over $34 trillion, are straining the system. Costly wars and expanding domestic programs have pushed finances to the brink. To cover deficits, the US has turned to creating money, fueling inflation and eroding trust in the dollar. Other nations are taking notice, seeking alternatives, and reducing their reliance on the dollar. China, Russia, and others are trading in their own currencies and stockpiling gold. This de-dollarization threatens America's financial supremacy. If trust in the dollar collapses, so does America's ability to borrow and project power. The warning signs are unmistakable. The US is following the same path as past empires. The stakes are global, not just national. History may be repeating itself right now. The decline of empires follows 7 clear stages. It starts with overspending. Military expansion and domestic promises outpace income. Debt piles up, financed by borrowing at home and abroad. Leaders ignore the growing financial hole. Next comes currency debasement, printing money or diluting coins. Inflation rises, squeezing families and eroding savings. Trust in the currency and government collapses. Wealth flees to safer assets. Living standards fall, fueling unrest and division. The government loses global influence and can't afford its commitments. The currency is rejected, and military power fades. Political strife and breakdown follow. The empire collapses, leaving a power vacuum behind. The US now faces 3 possible futures. The first is a slow decline, like Britain's, losing reserve currency status, cutting spending, and shrinking on the world stage. This would mean lower living standards but avoid sudden collapse. The second is a rapid, chaotic fall, triggered by a loss of confidence in the dollar, leading to crisis and unrest. This mirrors Rome's dark age of instability. The third, and most hopeful, is a managed transition. This would require tough choices, cutting spending, balancing budgets, and working with other nations on a new financial order. It's the hardest path, demanding real leadership and sacrifice. Global forces, like China's rise and new digital currencies, are reshaping the world regardless. The era of a single superpower may be ending. The key question: will the transition be peaceful or chaotic? The crossroads is here, and the world is watching. The rise and fall of empires is a story as old as civilization. The economic laws behind their fate never change. Empires are built on sound money and collapse when that money is destroyed. Overspending, debt, and currency debasement are always fatal. No empire is too big to fail. Each believed it was special, and each was proven wrong. Printing money to solve problems is a trap that leads to ruin. Trust in currency takes centuries to build, but can vanish overnight. When trust is lost, collapse is inevitable. Today, the US dollar underpins the global system. If it falls, the crisis will be worldwide. There's no clear successor waiting to stabilize the world. The real battle is fought on balance sheets, not battlefields. The warning signs are flashing and history is watching. Will this time be different? The evidence says no.